Good morning, Manoj.
Very good morning, Dan.
And thank you for having accepted our invitation. So let's go straight to the point. Are you in contact with your psychic being? And if so, how does it manifest in your daily life?
I can say clearly there is an inner guidance, very clear inner guidance that is moment to moment.
Okay.
That means in everything you do, whenever there is slight of tracking, there is always that nudge from inside. So you know you are not in alignment.
Okay.
Or when there is this clear alignment, immediately there is this, or rather, it is more of that inner steady state where you are in that inner peace and harmony, and when it goes off, immediately that guidance, that nudge. It's not a word, but you know it.
Okay. So besides knowing it for sure, this inner guidance, does it come with some qualities or some specificities? I mean, to be straight, is it a voice? Is it some images? Is it a mindset? Is it some emotion?
None of this.
Yeah.
It is qualitatively, one can say, a deep inner peace and harmony, and a deep inner silence, stillness, and a kind of wideness where you increasingly see that I see the body is really like a front end.
Okay.
But you are not the body, you are something behind and wider. That sense, and you live in that space.
Okay.
And from there, when there is externalization happening, sometimes you get absorbed in the externalities of life, but then you step back into that inner voice that is like always present, that inner silence, as well as like your body become more sensitive.
Okay.
It is not knowing so much in the mind as a thought, as a word, as an idea, but there is a moment of disharmony happening. Already you see the body sensations already are responding in a certain way, which is disharmony in the system. You experience disharmony in the physical substance.
Okay.
That is probably that to me the most closest thing, like disharmony experienced in the very physical substance. The moment there is peace, the moment there is that clarity, you're back to normal. That is.
Okay, so you would say that there are some qualities or some features, both in the mind, in the vital system, and also as well in the body experiencing
Right.
peace.
Right. In mind it is silence.
Yeah.
That mind stays silent, more of a witnessing what is going on.
Okay.
And in the heart, either it is at peace or not at peace.
Mm-hmm.
In the very body, there is a very clear, tangible sensation of very dense substance that is calm. When it is not, when something is off, in the very physical substance, you experience there is unpleasant sensations, vibrations, all those.
Yeah, I understand.
Otherwise, it is very pleasant, calm, peaceful movement in the body.
Mm-hmm. Now, it could be very helpful for our audience also to find their own ways to assess what is happening within themselves.
I guess each one has their own way of knowing that point. It's almost like, I would say, a baseline reference, where you know that you are back in that space or you're off. And in that off, it can happen in the mind where you are spinning off in thoughts, or in the heart there is your heartbeat and your harmony that is off. You can clearly sense there is loss of that harmony.
Would you say that there is the center of gravity of your whole system is little by little, step by step shifting to another reality? Or because there is this human stuff that pulls us to react and sometimes to overreact. And there is also this connection to this inner guidance that you are talking.
That distinction between the outer being and the inner being become very clear. As well as the instruments that are going off.
Yeah.
The mind, when it is in the grip of thoughts, the way it behaves is one thing. Similarly, when the emotions are fluctuating, same thing with the body also. And behind all this is where you just walk out of all this thing and you just become a witness to all this. And in that condition, it is purely vibration. Qualitatively, you move more and more towards stillness, peace, calmness.
More in a sense of length or in the sense of profound also? Is it something that you used to say to be constantly the same, let's say, the same sensation, or is it also in the sensation there is an increasing thing?
Yes, it's both dynamic and static at the same time. On one hand, there is this growing stillness of your being. Your being is increasingly still and free, but there is a response to the life that is happening around.
Yeah.
And that is the dynamic side that is flowing through either through the mind, like the thoughts. One has to respond to life and its questions. Right? So that comes spontaneously from that inner space. But the moment there is a fracture, there is a gap, that is where the harmony is lost, and it's no more spontaneous, and it is also no more that energy is not at peace. So this separation between the flow, which is, there is a dynamic creative force that is engaging with life in its full complexity. At the same time, there is a space where one can either enjoy it or get lost in the...
So you would say that it's a constant back and forth?
Yeah, it's a constant back and forth.
But would you say that these moments of harmony last longer and more?
Yes, it is lasting, it lasts more and more, and it becomes steady state. Even when there is thoughts happening, streaming of thoughts happening, streaming of action happening, it becomes a steady state. It is your ground.
The basis that you were talking about.
Right. It is the ground from where things arise into action.
There's something that I would like to ask you about the moment in the morning when you wake up. Because we used to say also that the night is the moment where possibly we can lose this connection. What happened in your life? Is it something that you have to rebuild again every day, or is it there is a continuity?
It depends on the day, depending upon what happened the previous day, what you ate and all that, depending upon the quality of sleep. Sometimes you enter into sleep and you're entirely lost in that inertia of tamas, and you're getting out drowsy and lost, and you need to clear the cloud, get back to that clarity. But if your previous day was well lived and you had proper meals and good sleep, you wake up fresh, and in fact at that time you are far more in contact, and that is when greater opening is there.
You mean in the very beginning of the day when you wake up?
Yeah, that fresh waking up where you are in touch with something wider. So that reception, that clarity, that is very beautiful.
So would you say that there are still some work which is happening during the night?
Of course. I cannot say that is, like, sleep is not fully conscious. So one try to enter sleep consciously, but then one become unconscious, and you lost. Either you get into tamas, or if you, if I manage well, get up fresh in the morning. Though initially, when I was putting the mental will, mental discipline to do that, there was certain rhythm nicely set. But then as you increasingly surrender and let the nature do her work, I see the mental structure and rhythms getting disturbed with something new emerging, where one cannot predict what is emerging, whether you will come out fresh or whether you get entangled in the inertia. So the stuff shows up in different ways, and it has to do more to do with the daily interactions that are happening, and what is being churned and what is being brought out in the process.
Do you mean that there are some direct consequences of our daily life in terms of the future? And
Yeah, it's there's a churning happening, continuous churning. There's a continuous interaction with the life that is happening, and those interactions are getting processed and system assimilated. And in that process also there is emergence. There is something from inside that is emerging, revealing, shaping you. You're getting shaped. You are more like a clay on a potter's wheel, and life is churning and shaping you, and things are being brought out. In the process, both beautiful and stuff that needs to be worked on emerges. And increasingly I sense, I see that it's not just personal, it's more larger stuff that is flowing through. You are just a space in which this is happening, and you're only a witness to a process.
this is interesting because also you can see that what you are experiencing in your own life is also happening in the interaction you might have with other people. Or?
Yeah, it's a very continuous process with the life that is around, and there is no real separation.
And does it mean also that if you are in the same, let's say, inner guidance, and you are discussing with other people, there is an effect that is increasing?
Both ways. If one is able to go inward and be in that voice, and from there response, it has a very clear influence. For example, when I guide people in group meditations, so that time I myself go into that inner meditative space and access something deeper and clearly see it
spreading,
influencing. Yeah. Not only in guided meditations and things like that, even normal actions, workspaces, where when you are in that voice, it has its contagious effect. But life is sometimes bringing very challenging forces into the context, and your unconscious and habitual reactions also step in. That's where it gets entangled, and even your inner voice gets lost.
Yeah.
So that takes time to recover, to get back to the inner state and reconnect with that.
This inner guidance of yours, is it something that you grew up with during your childhood, your teenagerhood, or is it something that you came to understand with specific events, or?
Yeah, it was something that grew over the years.
Including from very early age?
Early age, only thing I remember is just the witness part of it, which is not necessarily identified with the body. You are a witness to life.
Okay.
That I had no knowledge about it.
Yeah, but still you were experiencing this witness position.
Yeah, witness position was always there, that was very clearly there. But then I noticed it was lost perhaps by the time I was 7, 8, it was gone.
Oh, so it happened before and then?
Right, very early childhood I remember that inner freedom. You're
Okay.
just witness to life and witness to what's going on, and no clue what is going on.
And 7H, you
At,
were
at one point, it entirely disappeared, and yeah, by around 21, that is when the process began. It's not something that I started. I didn't do anything. It is just that life started creating context. Or now, when I look back from integral yoga perspective, I would say the inner guide was arranging circumstances in such a way that things.
Okay, but
Yeah.
by the age of 20, 21, would you say that you became conscious about? I mean, it was happening before. No,
I did not become conscious. The process began to make me conscious.
okay,
Momentary awakening, and that happened through a series of random incidents that happened. I was not interested in spirituality, yoga, none of that.
could you just tell us one incident, a significant incident, or incident? I mean,
Yeah, one of
event.
the very first incident was I was in my college hostel, and I had shifted to a new room, and there was a magazine that came to the room randomly, and I opened the magazine and started reading, and there was an article. I got absorbed into the article, and it suddenly shook me from some sort of a sleep.
Okay,
And my worldview at that time very much centered around science and technology, as well as I was into communism and stuff like that. That was shaken. And it was pointing towards something referred to as Eastern wisdom. And I did not know what was Eastern wisdom, but curiosity awakened. And old, mental constructs were just suddenly cracking up. What you thought the world is, the future is, life is, suddenly was cracking up.
cracking for something more true. No, something
Yeah,
more.
but I did not know
Yeah.
what was the true thing. I did not even know it was cracking up.
Oh,
I was, on one hand, disturbed because what I believed in turned out to be not true.
fake. Yeah, I mean, to some extent. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a kind of, let's say, not enlightenment as such, but an unveiling thing. No. Something.
Yeah, you believed in false narratives.
Oh yeah.
The conditioned understanding of the world,
Modern
life,
conditioning,
everything.
yeah.
Suddenly you realize these were all.
There's something else.
There is
different.
something else, and something is pointing out. And I remember one specific incident that was probably one of the powerful moments of, I can say, waking up. It's somewhat like you were a seed sleeping, and life comes and starts shaking you. So one day it happened that I randomly visited a bookshop. It had opened new in the nearby area, and there was this book by Jiddu Krishnamurti called The Commentaries on Video. And I felt like buying it. I was never used to buying English books. I grew up reading Malayalam.
You knew Krishnamurti already? Or no?
I heard his
Yeah.
name. He had passed away, and someone had written a little note about it. I read it, and I heard there is someone called Jiddu.
So there is
Krishnamurti.
some kind of.
Yeah, so that what I heard, and then this book connected, I thought might as well buy and
Okay.
read. So I bought the book and I was reading, and I distinctly remember a moment when there was a kind of an explosion of awareness. And
By reading.
yeah, just by reading. And suddenly my mind became like an object. I could look at my thoughts. It became an object I was witnessing. I was not the thought. Thought was happening, and I was sitting and reading the book, and I was just witnessing what was happening. It was like a sudden.
How long did it last? I mean,
I
even
don't-
though the time would be completely absent from that.
Yeah, I don't recall, but then I saw that you fall back, but then you again wake up. Fall back, you come out. So that was very clear indication or a clear process that began. And I was then continuously, then I bought a lot more books of Jita Krishnamurti to understand. But soon I realized he has nothing more to deliver. He did his job. I had to move on. But that was a very clear knock. And I have not yet come across Sri Aurobindo. I did not know anything about Indian spirituality. All right.
Okay. And back to this inner guidance, could we say that something started to build within yourself? Some it's not, even though it's not consciously that we say, okay, let's go and let's start this spiritual path, but unconsciously some relation, some inner relation.
Right. That is recognizing the guidance, the presence. That is...
there is a before and an after, no?
Right. So increasingly I noticed things were not happening randomly. There is a synchronicity. There is a guidance. There is a providence that is happening. So since I had this curiosity that awakened about Eastern wisdom, spirituality, but I did not know where to look for, I noticed books started coming my way.
Okay. And I start to trust this.
Yeah, and then I came across like Tao of Physics, that again pointed, but I didn't find anybody from East to explain. And then I randomly come across Swami Vivekananda, who blew my mind and gave a clear sense of direction. And then I came across Sri Aurobindo. That gave a sense of vast ocean of wisdom. And then it is from that moment onwards the guidance and the presence became very strong. That is, like, I was traveling in a train and suddenly I realized, wish I had taken a book of Sri Aurobindo. And then soon I noticed the guy sitting right next to me opening his luggage and taking out a book of Sri Aurobindo. And I knew this has come for me, and eventually it came to my hand and I happily read. Similarly, I was doing my postgraduate studies, and first thing I did was going to the institute library, look for Sri Aurobindo's books. And there was not a single book. And within a few months I saw the collected works of Sri Aurobindo coming to the library. And I knew...
It's amazing when things happen.
Yeah, you knew you are guided. There is a wisdom that is leading, and his presence became more and more clear. Then all other teachers faded away. I read many others, but Sri Aurobindo gently entered, and these coincidences became more and more living guidance. And you kind of, that faith spontaneously, naturally forms, and the kind of surrender that spontaneously comes. Like, here is a master, and a devotion that naturally happens. And I still remember one day I felt like keeping a flower in front of, like, even first to buy his photograph, I was reluctant because I was coming from science, technology, rational, all those things. Even to buy a photograph was like I had to, something from inside was nudging, buy a photograph. And then I bought a photograph and kept in my room. And then one day I felt like offering a flower, and I was feeling like the outer being was feeling this awkwardness that this is not your nature.
Let's give a try.
But that loving nudge from inside was pushing, and that faith and the devotion and that love was growing, and that profound peace. I never met him, but it was very living, tangible support. And later I noticed it is not just that presence, but also very active intervention into life situations, and very clear guidance on what to do and what not to do. In fact, when I had been reading Sri Aurobindo, and I thought eventually Sri Aurobindo Ashram is my place. And I came to Pondicherry,
And you started by going to the ashram? Okay.
I was studying. I was still doing my postgraduate studies, industrial design, product design, all that. But I was doing my reading continuously. I did not expect this to change my life.
You mean practically for your making a living? And
I thought I was doing production engineering, and from there went into product design and all that. I thought life is started in that direction, but as I read more and more of Sri Aurobindo, something was getting infused, and he became the inner anchor for everything. But then I knew life is changing, and old thing did not make any sense.
Yeah, because there was no clear separation between to have a job for a living and to have a spiritual path. One can also combine.
I did not know at that point of time, and once I completed my studies, I thought I should make some money and then continue this exploration on the side track. So I started working, and I was earning money, but I felt miserable. I was selling myself for money, and I felt that it was no more a guidance, it was a force, like a compelling force. I can't ignore it anymore. And then I was not able to obey. Because I was bound by fear, practicalities, all those things.
Families, maybe.
Yeah, family expectations. I did not want to hurt my parents. All those things.
Yeah.
So I couldn't obey, I couldn't surrender, and I was under the grip of fear because financial insecurities and all those things. So that battle became very clear. There is a force that is company. On the other side, my outer being was clinging to safety, security, and its conventional ideas about what life is.
Yeah.
And so I couldn't make the choice. I couldn't make the decision. As a result, I was falling into depression.
Oh, the incapacity to choose clearly.
Right.
Throw you in. Okay.
Also, I knew I am not meant to be a monk, a sannyasi. That's not my life.
Yeah.
My understanding of spirituality was still that traditional renunciate, even though Sri Aurobindo was repeating again and again about integral spirituality. But still the traditional mind...
The message, we could not find a way to...
Right. I couldn't find a way to convert my daily life into a practice ground.
Yeah, understand.
Sadhana was something, in fact, I couldn't call it sadhana because I wasn't doing anything consciously as a practice other than just reading Sri Aurobindo, which was the most central practice that was continuously happening. By the time it was 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, I was steadily reading. That was the main practice. And it was changing me without me knowing about it. But that changed. That was also the time when I was realizing that the purification of speech became very central practice. Journaling became practice. And then the purification of thought became inner work. Things were largely inner, not so much outer. Outer work was my professional life as a designer. It was...
Yeah, this is how Sri Aurobindo and Mother are quite innovative because they are speaking about integral yoga, the yoga of the daily life. You know?
I was not there. To me, there was a big gap between the two. I thought this profession I was involved in and the whole thing has to be done with. I need to really get out. And it became practical necessity because I was getting into depression. And then this force was growing. Finally, I said, I surrender. I'm resigning. I'm done with it. Yeah. So I resigned, and that stepping out opened the doors. Meanwhile, I had visited ashram. I thought that is my place. And I visited ashram, into samadhi. It was wonderful. But inner guidance was clear, this is not your place. that is even more confusing. At that time, I did not know about Auroville, but I heard the word Auroville.
So inner guidance, to some extent, is what should be done, what is fair for us, not to be done, because some situation could be appealing, but still it's not matching. No, it's
Yeah, mind is saying Sri Aurobindo is like heart and saying Sri Aurobindo is your master,
okay,
and go and surrender. This is the place, and you come here, and then from inside it's very clear this is not your place.
Yeah. So the good quality, I mean, would be how to discriminate. No.
Yeah, that discernment where the mind is trying to analyze and interpret, and but inner guidance is
short-term benefit and
and even logically this is not making sense. Here is the ashram, this is where you are meant to be. It's not logically making sense. Now what? And then I remember coming across the galaxy image in Delhi Ashram Library.
okay.
There's something really stood out there. Something touched. Something heart was saying, here is something beautiful.
So could we say that the practice should be the way for every one of us to recognize, to acknowledge this inner guidance, and to allow us to follow? No, first of all, to
trusting that
discriminate.
intuition without knowing where it is leading, and it is not matching the rational explanations, and yet
have faith and go for it.
yeah, and if I'm not obeying it, it becomes internal conflict. Internally it's not conflict, it's like you're not authentic, you're not truthful, you're not obeying the truth of your soul. That became very clear.
And we go back to the beginning of our discussion. Now you have this clear possibility to assess from one time to another what is happening within your body. So you are very clear, no? What to do or not.
That grew over the years. A couple of things grew over the years. That inner poise, inner deepening, all that, especially after coming to Auroville. Then only I began formal meditation at Master Mandir. Till then it was other forms of practice. And here slowly that
more and more important.
Inner work became more and more important, and that inner voice became more and more natural and flowing. And at one point, not only the inward movement, but also the descent of peace from above. That became much more substantially clear. And so these two movements together was establishing that inner peace, inner stillness, silence, and increasing wideness and freedom from the bodily identification, external activities, stuff like that.
Yeah, so maybe to conclude, would you have some advice for our listeners? How, if people are in the middle of some chaos in our lives, how is it possible to find a way to look within oneself and to find this spark and to follow and to be, what could you say?
Difficult. It's first of all, it's not our doing. It's not we who are doing it. It is that which is
doing through us.
Yeah, for us and through us and through life that is around. So recognizing that, and recognition is from the inner depth where this is the truth of your being, and one has to honor that. Absolutely, and there is no compromise on that. The moment you compromise, then all the confusions arise. So trusting that inner sensing, and it becomes increasingly very clear, and surrendering to that, and having absolute faith and absolute courage to go with it.
And the more we trust this inner guidance, the more this inner guidance become more, let's say, easy and accessible, no?
It becomes more and more visible, tangible, and it will intervene and it will guide, and you feel more and more being carried by that. and you live in that safety, in that protection, in that harmony, in that peace, and in fact, it knows what can be done through you. So you want to drop the notion about what I can do, what I cannot do, and surrender to that, so that it will unfold and reveal your...
It's a kind of surrender.
Yeah, Swabhava and your Swadharma, your soul purpose, your natural inner gifts, all that gets revealed spontaneously and naturally, and it's not our doing. Main thing is that surrendering to that guidance and having absolute faith, and having that courage to let that leave all mental structures and systems and processes and take on the surface. Things will come and go. Techniques will come and go. As and when it is required, it will come naturally and spontaneously. But the more you surrender, more it reveals, and not only reveals outwardly, also inwardly the presence grows, and the sanctity, the sacredness of it.
It brings another self-confidence, another strength.
Yeah, strength, in a way, something very soft.
Yeah.
That is, it's not your strength. It's something else that is doing, very gentle, very vast, very wise, and certain sweetness, certain gladness of being, and let it flow through, and whatever it is doing through you, let it take it forward, and you increasingly enjoy that presence, that guidance, that living wisdom.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Manoj.